What up, Superchain fam, and welcome to another edition of Superchain Demo Day. This week we have three great projects up to present. So as always, this is a very interactive demo day, and so each presenter will get about 10 minutes to present, and then you can drop your questions in the Unlonely chat, on Twitter, or on our YouTube, where we're live streaming from. And at the end of each presentation, we'll be able to get to some of those community questions. All right, so without further ado, I will hand it over to Fringe Finance and Brian.
Jesse, thank you very much. Okay, I'll quickly go through a couple of things here and maybe open up for a couple of questions. Fringe Finance, we're a margin trading and lending platform, but we've got a twist. Let's talk about that. So we operate on Optimism and other chains, but one of our key differentiators is a large list of assets. All up, we'll have about 150 assets in total, including ERC20 tokens, and something quite different to many of the other platforms out there is we'll support LP tokens and ERC46 yield-bearing instruments. And this is quite important because at the end of the day, when we do anything in DeFi, it's always with a goal. At the moment, and I'll talk more about that in a second, at the moment, we're listing 14 assets on Optimism, which include a whole host of the usual suspects and a few of the more exotic instruments there and longer tail assets. And we're looking soon to bump that up to dozens of interesting assets. Now, we have some other really cool technology here that allows us to do this, which is price stability mechanisms that allows us to list these assets and also protects against price manipulation attacks. This is quite crucial because hundreds of millions of dollars a year are lost in price manipulation attacks. So I mentioned having a goal in mind is really important. And so today's, and the way I'll just shape this talk will be talking about use cases, which is the reason of why people might want to do activity or participate on these margin trading and lending platforms. And these are the key to unlocking sophisticated financial participation. And because we have a wide range of assets, that means we support a whole range of unique use cases, unlike other margin trading and lending platforms. And because of these use cases, your participation in the DeFi ecosystem can be undertaken in a controlled and nuanced manner, in a more capital efficient manner. And I won't go through all of this, but this is to give examples of use cases around, for example, and I'll just pick one side here, the LP tokens on the left-hand side. You can amplify your exposure to your LP tokens. You can seek extra yield. And down the bottom of that list is hedge exposure to the volatile asset that underlies the LP token. We'll talk a little bit more about that particular one in a minute. And also hedge impermanent loss. So these use cases we think are quite game-changing in the market, and we'll talk a little bit about why Fringe offers that and is a good venue for considering participating in that respect. So I'm going to talk today and demo our product on Optimism using an exotic use case, which in this case is hedging exposure to the volatile asset in the LP token pair for those LP or liquidity providers on DEXs. For example, if you provide liquidity onto those DEXs, by the time you take them out, if that more volatile asset has fallen in value, well, even though you've collected fees, trading fees on providing liquidity there, then you're still exposed to that downside. So this is a solution to that. And this diagram here on the left-hand side of the diagram has the initial exposure is to the LP token, which is all of the components of that, which is the trading fees, the impermanent loss, and both underlying assets. And using one of or a mechanism I'll describe in a minute, you can hedge your exposure. So on the right-hand side, the resulting exposure is you can remove your exposure to the more volatile underlying asset. Let's have a look at a demo here. And Jesse, I'm going to now remove this presentation and present a screen. So I'll just pull that up right now and we'll dive straight in and have a look. And the way we're going to do this, the way we're going to do this is, what I'm going to do is um, a couple of things. First of all, what I'm going to do is, with my assets, I'm going to decide how much I'm going to allocate to first of all my LP position, and then I'm going to short the more volatile asset. And in our example here, I'm going to take an LP position on Uniswap V3, and it's going to be the OP to Ethereum pool. So in this case here, what I want to do is consider that OP might be the more volatile asset, according to whatever analysis leads me to that opinion. And now I can express that opinion using these DeFi facilities. So what I'll do, I'll deposit some collateral onto this platform. I'll borrow the OP token so that I'm now shorting that, and I'll use that to purchase my LP tokens. So I'll end up with that use case that we talked about just moments ago, which is hedging the more volatile underlying asset. So this is Fringe at app.fringe.fi, and here I've got it operating on the Optimism chain. And as I mentioned, we've got quite a number of assets which we support on Optimism. And in this case here, I've got some USDCE, and I'm going to deposit some of that as collateral. I might deposit, say, 700 as collateral on this platform, and we'll just wait for these. This is a live demo, so we'll see the slight delay as this confirms on the blockchain, but we all know Optimism is super cool because it's super fast. Anyway, so that's committing right now. And
Yeah, I love the live demos. Everybody who always does live demo is very brave for sure. And also the live demos gives
yep,
everybody a chance to kind of solve the problems that you're trying to solve if anything goes wrong. All right, back to you.
yes, okay, sorry about that, I pressed the wrong button there. But anyway, so I've got some collateral deposited on the platform, and what I'm going to do now is borrow some OP. These are all the assets that I can borrow, and I'll borrow, say, 101 of these guys, and that's about 250 USD. And again, we're just confirming this via my wallet, confirming it on the blockchain. So background music there, please, Jesse. This will only take a couple of seconds.
How
And
how do you do the math for what you want to borrow? I'm assuming you're not using the full $700. You're going to do.
no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Okay, so the math, we outline this in our user guides, and for this particular use case, I'm just about to publish, or we're just about to publish the user guides for this one. And they're all in there, and it factors in both the loan to value ratio of the assets that you're using in this particular trade, and also your desired safety factor. And people have their own personal safety preferences to avoid liquidations. So all of that comes into play. And we talk about that. Other cool things about our platform is we have partial liquidation models. So you're not penalized overly if liquidations do occur. Just the minimal amount of liquidation occurs. And so you only pay a very small fee on the small part of your position that might be liquidated, and you still retain your existing position. So it's good. Now, what we see here is we've borrowed OP, and we've borrowed 101 of these guys. And what we can see now is in our wallet, we have 101 of those guys. And I can go off to Uniswap now. Let's just have a quick look and to see. I'm going to flip to Uniswap, hopefully. Now, I think Uniswap comes up there on the page. Yes. Okay. So all I'm doing now is just using Uniswap v3, and I'm going to take a new position, and let me just get that up. take a new position, and then that completes this use case. And so one thing that I'm really attempting to convey here is these complex financial strategies can be executed in quite straightforward manners using these tools that we've got available to us. So here we've got the pair ETH and Optimism. And what I'm going to do is specify just a range, because this is Uni V3 pool. And I'm going to say there's 100 of these, 100 of these OPs that I'm going to take a position on. And I can now take this position. So what we have at the end of this is, if we're participating as liquidity providers in the DEX space, I have just hedged my exposure to that more volatile asset. So this is something I just wanted to convey to achieve these more nuanced and controlled participation within the DeFi ecosystem. You can just use these fairly straightforward actions within these DeFi platforms and do fairly simple things here and position yourself so that you're expressing your opinions more at a more granular level. And just before we go, from a DeFi facility perspective, Fringe Finance not only has these borrowing facilities, but we have our leverage trading facilities. And here we can amplify exposure to any of the assets that we list on the platform, which will include our LP tokens, or LP tokens in general, I should say, ones that we list, and ERC 4626 tokens. And our margin trade facility. Here I have an open position of ETH. And so I've amplified my ETH, and it's been nice to me over the last few weeks. There's been some profit on that. And then our margin trade facility allows you to choose specifically what assets you would like to go long and short on. So that's very quickly the 10 minutes I think that I have, Jesse, to give an overview of what the product can do and what a good way to achieve one particular nuanced use case for people who have particular needs in the DeFi ecosystem. There you go. I'll stop sharing this now.
Beautiful demo. So I have a question. So we are going and borrowing OP at a certain rate, right? And then we are taking that OP and supplying it into an ETH OP liquidity pool. And so then assuming that we're zero hedged, I guess the term is, for that OP volatility, then what you would be making or for you to kind of be positive on this trade, the fees that you generate would have to be higher than what you're paying to borrow the OP.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the considerations. And the other consideration is that you will offset that against the perceived or the expected loss in value that you would experience from the fall in price or value of that more volatile asset. So you can take these positions and protect yourself against some of the vicissitudes of life, which is the unreliability of some of those assets out there. So this gives you greater control. It allows you to really isolate where you would like to provide your or to achieve your exposure. And a use case that I touched on earlier is removing exposure to impermanent loss. And we would take a very similar approach to what we took then, but we would short both of the underlying assets. And therefore, any movement in the underlying assets would be offset by the short position that we'd be opening up on Fringe Finance. Now, why is Fringe good? Because we offer a wider range of assets, which means more liquidity pools are therefore able to be hedged in this manner. Some lending platforms only have a small number of assets because our current spread and our future spread will be quite wide. This is the market that we're looking to satisfy and to service. So we think we have quite a differentiated product here, especially with the engineering underlying our product, which is that price stability mechanism for some of those longer tail assets. So yeah, please have a look at our website, fringe.fi, and we'll be releasing more user guides for these nuanced use cases.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you for coming on and presenting. If can you drop some links if anybody wants to reach out, or some links that they can go to check out your site, and also any future plans that you want to share.
Yes. Okay. Where do I drop those links, Jesse? On the
You can drop it
right-hand
in the
side?
private. You can drop it in
In
the
the
private
private
chat,
chat.
and then yeah, and
Okay.
then we'll share out.
Okay, so I'll just put fringe.fi there. We've got docs link there. We've got a social channel link there, primarily on Telegram. We've got YouTube. We've got a whole bunch of stuff, and our docs has a growing list of these use cases that we're finally getting through because it takes some time just to produce all of this really good material.
Understandable.
We
All
also
right.
We also have a lender incentive program underway at the moment. So lenders are incentivized through additional Fringe rewards, our governance token. So have a look at all of that. That's on our website.
Awesome. Love rewards. Beautiful. Thank you, Brian, so much. Excellent presentation, excellent demo.